Good afternoon, you're watching The Big Story here on Mirror Now. My name is Apurva Sridhar. Let's begin with the agenda that we have set for The Big Story today. The continuing speech on the Aaarey. The meeting at the SNDT College is currently underway between the environmentalists, the state government and the BMC over environmental concerns over building the metro lines in the city. Now, there have been some fireworks over the axing of the 2,700 trees to build the car shed for the Mumbai metro. Now, activists say that felling of these trees will cause an irreparable damage to Mumbai's ecosystem. And that has been some of the reactions there coming in that entire session that has taken place between the BMC chief, the Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation MD Ashwini Bide, and the activists who have time and again pointed out to the adverse impact of the felling of the trees.
That depot is located at a very suitable place because that is the nerve center of any metro operation. All activities are controlled from that depot. Car depot is basically a mandatory and essential facility for smooth operation. So any metro when it is planned, the car depot is thought of as the first priority. If there is no car depot, you can't find a location for that, you cannot take a metro project. Unlike railway, it is not just you take it 10 kilometers away. No, because every day the metro operations would start from that depot. Because we'll start this metro project with 31 trains of 8 coaches, and subsequently there will be more than 50 trains of 8 coaches. So you need to stable all those trains in the depot, and then that is why the depot location has to be at the either end of the corridor, and you can't take it anywhere else.
This is higher than any other large metropolitan. That's the number of trees in Mumbai compared to any one of these. Another thing which I want to tell the students of, no other city in the world has a national park which actually people like Devi Goenka and all have been able to protect with its current boundaries, which is not a forest as we think about it. We have floods in Mumbai, isn't it? But is the car shed built already? So are the floods being caused by the car shed?
Already built, sir.
Yeah. So then we don't need to do anything more. You can start your car depot operations. In a city which has got a continuous, smooth, cheap public transport, people can have homes much further away and still reach their workplaces. One of the great achievements of your campaign to save Aaarey is generated so much of a counter narrative which I wasn't aware of at all. So that's why I felt so. A lot of the stuff out here is not coming from their official records. It's coming from crowd.
One thing is very clear, that reclamation involves ecological damage which is not acceptable. So the municipal corporation should stop reclaiming the seafront for its coastal road. So here we have a clear government position that reclamation should not happen. I'm thankful to Mr. Bide for this commitment, and we hope the government will look into that and cancel all the reclamation on the coastal road. Metro is needed. Metro is needed irrespective of the justifications which are being given out, some of which can be contested. For example, if you want to save lives for people who are falling off the trains, run your trains from end to end at 2-minute intervals. It can be done tomorrow. Don't wait for the metro to come in and save people's lives. Every life is important.
Now let's understand this better, and before I go to my guest, let me go across to Sanjana, who's joining me live with further updates on this. Sanjana, over the past 2 hours, we have heard all 3 sides of the story. We have heard from the side of the BMC chief, we heard from the side of the MMRCL MD, we also heard from the side of the activists. Now, there had been some fireworks that we had witnessed over this entire argument over Save Aaarey. Now, if you can take us through what is happening right now.
What we're seeing right now, Apurva, on our screens is basically a talk that has been arranged at the SNDT College in Churchgate. This is with regards to environmental concerns over building metro lines in the city of Mumbai. Now, this comes shortly after, just yesterday, we saw a host of at least 2,000 Mumbaikars gather and form a human chain to protest against the BMC's proposal to axe over 2,700 trees to build a car shed for the Mumbai metro. So today in attendance at the meeting, as you can see on your screens, are representatives from the state government. We have the BMC commissioner himself. We have environmentalists, we have activists, we also have the chief of the Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation. Now, Apurva, as we have been saying, the stand of the state government has been one straight simple one, that they are trying to make the lives of Mumbaikars easy, that they're trying to bring in this metro so that travel woes are eased out for the city of Mumbai. But environmentalists and activists, let's remember, and really most of Mumbai protesters that have gathered, in the past couple of weeks are of the opinion that by doing this, you are essentially taking away the one last green lung of the city of Mumbai. You are taking away the green cover. Now, today essentially is an effort. It's part of a massive government outreach where they're trying to show that there are some misunderstandings and some misconceptions and even rumors, what they allege, are being spread about the Aarey project. So here, this has been called essentially to set the record straight for both sides to clarify what their problems are and issue all of those concerns. As you rightly said, there have been some fireworks through the meeting. And currently the House is open to questions. Both sides are posing their questions. We saw some fireworks in the past. The BMC commissioner also coming out and making some rather tall claims about how this project is being done under the Metro Act. The Mumbai Metro chief also coming out and saying that there has been no regulation that has been violated. Everything has been done with an environmental assessment and also looking after the impact, and that this is being done so that Mumbaikars can travel better. But, environmentalists and activists are of the opinion that that is not really needed. The fact that development too is possible, but at the same time, it needs to be sustainable, Apurva.
All right, so development too is possible, but it has to be extremely sustainable without causing any damage to the environment. That is the word they're coming in from the activists and the environmentalists. Sanjana, many thanks for joining us with those perspectives and bringing us the details of what has happened in that meeting, which is still currently underway. Let me put that across to Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, who's now joining us on this broadcast. Shaina NC, many thanks for speaking to us. This is, of course, a very emotive issue for a lot of Mumbaikars. We have seen in the past several days that there have been placards that Mumbaikars have been holding, urging the government to listen to them. Now, this is a meeting that is currently taking place even as we speak. Now, one of the points that activists and environmentalists have time and again highlighted is whether the government is really compromising the environment at the cost of development. Is the government not taking into account the kind of environmental damage this particular metro car shed is going to bring upon if they go ahead and cut 2,700 trees?
Well, the environment is of utmost concern to every citizen, and even citizens like myself who are a part of the BJP, who have movements like I Love Mumbai, Mumbai Maji Ladki, that are working towards the environment. But I want to quote what Ashwini Bhede and our Chief Commissioner, Mr. Pardesi, said, which is that Mumbai is still flooding despite the fact that you have no car shed which has been built. And the reality is that when the Chief Minister spoke at the Man conference where I was present, and a young student asked him about Aaarey, he said, I feel pained when every tree is cut, but development and the environment need to coexist. And I'd like to quote what he said. He said the issue went straight up to the Supreme Court, which gave a ruling that the area where the trees were being cut is not a forest. The underground metro project would mitigate carbon footprints to an extent that otherwise we would require as many as 2 crore full-grown trees to be planted in Mumbai, which is impossible. Now, if we state the facts as they are, which is this is 2% of the entire Aaarey colony, the reality is that for the 2,700 trees, 8,100 not saplings, full-grown trees will be compensated, which will be monitored by the government. If we have this kind of carbon footprint which is mitigated, then it is a huge advantage to the environment, if at all. And if these commuters who daily use all kinds of emission fuel that is going out into the air, obviously that is being curtailed too, because people are using public transport, and the metro or the coastal road are not just the need of the hour, they are an answer to the haphazard infrastructure that we inherited 15 years ago.
All right, but we don't know if the government is really taking into account the kind of impact this is going to have perhaps on the Mithi River. And for that, let me bring in my colleague Amita, who's joining me with further updates on this. Amita, this is a very scathing report that has come out from the Supreme Court appointed panel, which talks about the kind of impact this particular metro car shed is going to have on the Mithi River. First of all, if you can break this down for us and help us understand what are the key takeaways that the Supreme Court appointed panel is of the opinion when it comes to making a metro car shed in Aarey.
Well, the Supreme Court appointed committee consists of members from IIT Bombay, members from NEERI and 2 citizen activists, all of whom have given a detailed 253-page report on what happens and what will happen if reclamation continues unabated, what will happen to Mithi River, and pointers on how to improve Mithi River itself, because they're calling it an open drain. But one of the key pointers that's coming in through this report is that land filling at Aarey, they say, has already altered the natural course of Mithi River. They've also gone on to point out that natural water gradients in Aarey is not functional at this point, that if it is not reconstructed, this is a point that they're making, if it's not reconstructed, the surface of water that is collected, especially during heavy rains, will not flow towards Mithi River.
All right, Amita, request you to stay with us at this point. Amita, sorry to interrupt you at this point. We have Praveen Pardeshi speaking.
मैंने और अश्विनी जी ने स्वीकारा इसको, और आपने बताया कि जो इसको विरोध करते हैं या जो दूसरी बाजू है उसके लिए भी आप उपस्थित रखें। तो काफ़ी अच्छी चर्चा हुई, बहुत सारे गैर समझ दूर करने की। क्या क्या गैर समझ दूर किया मेट्रो का? सबसे बड़ी गैर समझ ये है कि जो तंजूर की ज़मीन है वहाँ पर मेट्रो 3 का कारशेड हो सकता है, तो ये गलत है, क्योंकि इसके बारे में जो जमीन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं उसमें हाईकोर्ट से 1974 से लेके तो अभी तक नो क्रिएटिंग थर्ड पार्टी इंटरेस्ट ऐसा आदेश है, जिसको वेकेट करने के लिए मेट्रो ने उसके सामने पिटीशन भी फाइल किया, परंतु 2017 से अभी तक वो पिटीशन में उनको ये नहीं मिला। दूसरी भी जो जमीन थी जो मेट्रो 6 को चाहिए, उससे भी सिविल कोर्ट ने उसको डिसमिस कर दिया है, और टेक्निकली भी जहाँ पर अभी मेट्रो हो रही है आर्य मिल कॉलोनी की एक जगह पर, वहीं पर टेक्निकली सबसे अप्रोप्रिएट है, और वो नहीं होगी तो मेट्रो 3 नहीं हो पाएगी मुंबई के लिए, ऐसा एक डिस्कशन। 2700 पेड़ जो काटे गए से और पेड़ लगाए जाएंगे क्या है? 2700 में से एक भी पेड़ अभी तक काटा गया नहीं है, अभी काटने के बारे में ट्री अथॉरिटी ने निर्णय लिया है। और सर एक चीज़ और जानना चाहेंगे कि आज से 23 जो है पार्क वो खुलेंगे, 24 घंटे मुंबई खिलखिलाती दिखेगी, क्या कहना है सर आपका? नहीं तो उसका कारण ऐसा है कि मुंबई में सार्वजनिक जो जगह है वो कम है, तो इसलिए जो लोगों को रात को उसको इस्तेमाल करना है उनके लिए रात के लिए भी यूजफुल रहेगा। हर एक 24 वार्ड में 24 ठिकाने रखा है, तो वहाँ पुलिस सिक्योरिटी और बाकी की सिक्योरिटी भी हम लोग बढ़ा रहे हैं।
मेट्रो 3च्या कारशेडचा विषय काय आहे, त्याला एन्व्हायरमेंटलिस्टचे ऑब्जेक्शन्स काय आहेत आणि त्याला इम्प्लिमेंटिंग एजन्सीचं उत्तर काय, त्याच्यासाठी एक पॅनल डिस्कशन केलं होतं आणि अतिशय उत्तम अशी चर्चा झाली, ज्याच्यामध्ये दोन्ही बाजूंचे मुद्दे हे व्यवस्थित मांडण्यात आले.
All right, that's the latest reaction there coming in from Praveen Pardeshi, the BMC chief, and MMRCL MD Ashwini Bide there. This is after the meeting there has concluded at the SNTT College in Mumbai. Going back to Amita, who's joining us and getting us those updates there on the SC panel report, which effectively talks about how the state government's landfill has in fact affected the Aaroey ecosystem zone. Amita, you were of course detailing the key highlights and how the land filling has already costed a lot of damage, and there has been a subsequent damage and a change of route when it comes to the Mithi River, which perhaps even could flood if the area is concretized.
Well, that is correct. And in fact, we've been talking to experts, including Professor Chaudhary and Eldo from IIT Bombay, both of whom have been on this panel, and the citizen activist Dr. Samant. All of them have said that this is the impact that it's going to have. Now, if natural water gradients in Aarey, they say in this particular report, are already obstructed. They need to be rerouted at any cost. And if that doesn't happen, then surface water during heavy rains will not reach the river. What happens then? The impact, of course, is flooding. And, the point that is being made that floods are already taking place, they say that the intensity and the number of times the city will flood, especially around Mithi River, in, the airport, Chakala and all of the nearby areas, will only increase.
All right, Amita, request you to stay with us. Getting that point across to Shaina and see who's still with us joining. Shaina, of course, we've seen in the past, and this is not new, we've seen how every monsoon Mumbai floods. There's always talks about mangroves being affected, rampant encroachment. We have had that discussion for far too long. But the fact that this is a Supreme Court appointed panel, which also highlights the same concerns as put forth by several activists and environmentalists, is how if you go ahead and destroy certain ecosystems, especially the Mithi River perhaps is going to be flooded due to the continuous concretization in those areas.
So I think there are 2 points that the Supreme Court made which we must understand. In the petition itself, it said that development and the environment must coexist, or rather should coexist. In a city like Mumbai, which is bursting at its seams, where you have infrastructure breakdown, so to say, what is the solution? The solution is if you have better commuters, better systems, and those better systems can only be facilitated by the metro and the coastal road. That apart, the Supreme Court said the Aarey is not a forest. The actual figure, which is 2185 trees which are going to be replanted, the ones that are going to be replanted are 13,100. So it's a substantial increase. Now, you talk about the environment all the time, then the carbon footprint for which you need 2 crore trees, where are you going to get those? So the kind of fuel emission that we are all suffering right now is also toxic to the environment. Is nobody going to talk about that? We are trying to talk only about flooding. If you have systems in place, I'm sure when Ashwini Bhide and Mr. Pardesi spoke today, they said how they are going to have all kinds of drains to facilitate no water clogging. This is technology which is being used at its best, which is not just from India, but the best from world over. So let's believe in our bureaucracy and our political will.
But Shaina, this is the problem. No, Shaina, this is what the activists and a lot of environmentalists, botanists alike are talking about. Shaina, this is the main point that the botanists, the environmentalists are talking about. They are not against the metro construction. They also feel that perhaps metro is need of the hour to decongest the entire situation in Mumbai. But the fact of the matter remains, cutting of the trees, fully grown indigenous trees, which are homes to several flora and fauna on one side, is that equivalent to planting saplings on a completely different location? How is that going to help reduce the problems of environmental damage?
That's the point. You're wrong there, my dear. Please allow me a rebuttal. Please allow me a rebuttal. When we give saplings, and I know because we run an NGO that has been doing this work for 35 years called Mumbai Mazi Ladki, the survival rate of saplings is only 35%. Here we're saying for the 2185 trees, you're going to plant 13,100 full grown trees. So this is not a sapling versus tree argument for starters. Second, where is the space in Mumbai? Well, I want to say on record, Sudhir Mungantiwar, as the Forest Minister of Maharashtra, has done a fantastic job by planting 33 crore trees across the length and breadth of Maharashtra. So it's not as if our government is not pained or worried about the environment. When the Chief Minister answered this question of a young student at the MAN conference where I was present, he said that every tree cut pains him too, because he himself is an environmentalist in the sense that he loves flora fauna and is only working towards the betterment of development coexisting with the environment. And if we are going to do away with so much carbon footprint by using the metro, that in itself is a great advantage too, don't you think?
But Shaina, there's also a larger concern, and this is all coming out of the meeting, and we have also spoken to activists and botanists alike. We ourselves got one of the botanists there to the spot to ascertain the kind of situation. Now, If we talk about this entire process, now there are questions being raised on the credibility of tea authority itself. There have been 2 members who have quit in protest because their views were not taken into consideration. The standing committee chief Yashwant Jadhav also pointed out on record, has filed an appeal that the tree committee and the tree authority and the entire process, the meeting that has taken place, is a farce. How do people believe in the credibility of tree authority, which has given a sanction to go ahead and cut 2,700 trees then?
So I think that's a very good question you've raised, because a lot of people have been asking about this. Now, in this tree authority, you have members from multiple political parties, from Shiv Sena, BJP and others too. You have the independents and the supporters of the Aaarey who outweighed the minority. And in a democracy, isn't it about the majority vis-a-vis the minority in larger interests of the city? And if the Honorable Supreme Court themselves have said that no, this project must continue, and have cited the need for better infrastructure in city like Mumbai, then I think that we as a mature democracy must understand that the times have changed in the sense that people's aspirations but people's requirements are time bound. So we can continue to have a debate. What was the reason for the government to reach out with the MMRDA chief Ashwini Bhede in charge of the project and Praveen Pardesi reaching out to citizens? Only for the reason that we want to make sure that every answer is given to the satisfaction of the activists and of those who believe that we are doing wrong, because the Chief Minister himself speaking is also testimony to the fact that the carbon footprint, which is a huge concern, is a benefit to the environment, and this project's completion has a lot of advantages to the environment and to the citizens.
All right, Shaina, request you to stay with us at this point. Request you to stay with us. Let me quickly go across to Stalin Anand, also joining us on this broadcast. He was also there at the meeting. Stalin, if you can tell us what was the outcome of the meeting, because you've been there, you've put forth your point, you heard both sides. You heard from the side of Ashwini Bhede, you also heard from the side of Praveen Pardesi. Are you satisfied with the arguments and the justifications that they have put forth in going ahead? All right, let me quickly go across to Nitin Gadkari. He's actually speaking on the issue of Aarey. Let's cut into that.
के नेतृत्व में और महाराष्ट्र सरकार ने जो प्लांटेशन का प्रोग्राम किया है, वो देश के लिए नहीं तो दुनिया के लिए एक मिसाल के रूप में प्राप्त हुआ है, और इतने बड़े प्रमाण पर प्लांटेशन कभी नहीं हुआ है। अब मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि महाराष्ट्र में टोटल जो हमला सैटेलाइट से जो ग्रीन कवरेज काउंट करते थे, महाराष्ट्र में काफ़ी कवरेज बढ़ा है, और मैं ये मानता हूँ कि पर्यावरण की रक्षा करनी चाहिए और विकास और पर्यावरण में समतोल होना चाहिए। और इसलिए कोई अगर परिस्थिति निरूप अगर हमको कहीं अगर पेड़ ट्रांसप्लांट करने तो पहले ट्रांसप्लांट करने चाहिए, वो संभव नहीं हुआ तो विकास में कुछ जगह पर हमको पेड़ को काटना पड़ता है। मैं 4 धाम की योजना कर रहा हूँ, 12,000 करोड़ की, बद्रीनाथ, केदारनाथ, गंगोत्री, यमुनोत्री में। सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक मैटर गया और वो हिमालय के वैली में है, और 12,000 करोड़ की योजना है कि ऑल सीजन रोड है, आप कभी भी जा सकते हो। अब हिमालय में रोड बनाना है तो कहीं ना कहीं तो प्लांटेशन में कहीं ना कहीं पेड़ बीच में आएंगे। तो आज कितना बड़ा हादसा हुआ, कितने लोग मरे बादल फटने के कारण, बाढ़ के कारण, क्योंकि वहाँ क्या हुआ कि नदी के बाजू में रोड था, गंगा इधर बह रही, इधर रोड है, और फ्लड आया तो रोड पूरा लोग बह जाते, गाड़ियाँ बह जाती, बसेस चले जाती, हजारों लोग मरते। अब पैरेलल नई रोड बनाया।
About how to strike that balance between environment and development. Stalin Dayanand still with us. He was there at the meeting that had taken place. Stalin, are you satisfied with the kind of arguments that have been put forth? What has been your view? Are you satisfied with the justification that the sides have given to go ahead with the metro car shed?
No, there was no justification given. In fact, if you ask the audience, they will tell you that all the justifications they are given are hollow. In fact, the meeting ended with saying that we will not move it. So it was the arrogance of the people in power today. And Mr. Gadkari just now rightly said कि नदी के बाजू में नहीं होना चाहिए तो problem है. The same thing is here. This metro car shed is on the banks of the Mithi River. So that itself should be told to him whether he understands the importance of the need for the river to overflow. And this is only causing flooding, and destroying the trees is definitely, and the forest is not a solution. The thing is, the bureaucrats tried their best to convince the people, but less than 10% or 5% of the audience was convinced.
All right, so the face-off there still continues over the entire issue of Aaarey. We'll have to leave it there. We're completely running out of time. Many thanks, Shaina NC, spokesperson of the BJP, for joining us, and also Stalin the Anand activist for joining us on the big story today. Of course, the debate continues over whether a balance is really struck between environment and development. It still continues. The Mumbaikas, they're up in arms, still waiting for the government to listen to their demands and to cause that irreparable damage to the environment, to save the environment from being damaged.